Hey everyone, and welcome back to Zoo Sicily, and welcome to the first of two fixer-upper and finishing episodes. Now, in this first episode, we are going to make our way up from the area where we have the lemur house, gonna make our way through to the terrace area right next to our seals, and from there we are going to move on to the entrance area, and from which we are going to go into a parking lot section. So quite a lot of stuff to do in today's video. So without further ado, let's quickly talk about the first part, and this is making sure that all the landscape around the upper area is there. So this upper area, which is all the way up to the lemur house, has been established at the very beginning of Zoo Sicily, and Sicily, I should say. People have corrected me so much. I needed to make the intro the same, but from now on, I'm going to try to say Sicily. I never really understood what exactly was the issue, but here we are. In one of the first of the last episodes, I'm finally able to hopefully pronounce that word correctly. Nevertheless, we are going to build a wonderful nature. So today's episode, for those of you who struggle to fill in gaps and to struggle to make a coherent image, this is your episode, because you're going to learn a lot of techniques and ways to bring things together without actually using too many pieces. What you're going to see at the moment on screen is that I've created some smaller blueprints of certain plant combinations, which I'm going to scatter across the zoo, because it has two advantages. So first of all, it's going to make areas look nice in no time by just plopping them in. I'm going to do the same over here with some of the rocks, as you can see. But the second important thing is you bring in coherency. With these blueprints, you use the same combination of plants all across your zoo. It's very important that you keep rotating them and keep changing them so it's not looking repetitive, but it's very important that you do have a certain variation in them. But as long as you use the same combination, it's gonna always look and feel the same. You also have seen that I integrated a second kind of fake entrance to the backstage area that is behind our Sicilian alley, which I'm still very proud of. I think it's still looking fantastic. And yeah, we also have to work a lot around these areas here, making sure that the pathway looks a lot more interconnected. It's like the next episode is going to be even more loaded with these kind of things. I'm almost done. Like, there is a chance that this is going to be out on Sunday. So I'm going to make a huge Sicily week or two in the upcoming weeks. I'm gonna, ask some people to maybe do some tours, and I'm gonna provide people with different elements. I will put something in my Discord where you guys have a chance to be a part of it. So also stick to the end of the episode. I will ask you guys for something if you want to be part of Sicily. You may actually want to listen to that at the end of the episode. But yeah, all in all, I tried different techniques. Also, here's one wonderful thing I want to highlight for everyone who's struggling to have this. Use the freaking fences in the game, like the barriers, to your advantage. Sometimes you don't need to do that all piece by piece. It is just too much, okay? So if you do everything piece by piece, it would take an eternity and also takes up so much of your piece count and resources. Specifically, if you're on console, this will save you some pieces in the complexity meter. So make sure that you focus on that. Next up is one thing that I've neglected over an eternity, and that is the terrace up in the seal area. You know that we have a couple of seals and sea lions in here. We do have the gray seal, the sea lion, and the Mediterranean monk seal, which, as you may know, is not an official animal in the game. It's a mod I'm using. I just wanted to have some more variety in here. I may actually do change all the animals at the end of the day with unmodded animals so that everyone can play the park. So maybe this habitat has to be repurposed into, I don't know, maybe I'm going to do another one of the seals, and I'm checking if I can do some cool fur variants in both. I don't know, something like that is just on my mind. But yeah, you can see with this area over here, I intentionally left something in, which I'm going to talk about in a second. The game crashed on me, and I lost a bit of process with this specific building over here. But I left this in because I wanted to use this as a chance for you. Yeah, like something you barely see with my builds is the iterations I've done. I mean, I keep saying that, and people always have the feeling that everything you see is right the first thing I'm doing, but that is just not the case, you know. If you've been a part in my live streams, you know that, but many people haven't. So I do a lot of things. Sometimes I'm not happy with how they turned out in general, and then I'm just going to redo them. But also, it's not very seldom that I have some crashes or just simply me forgetting to save the game. That also happens. If it's late at night and I just need to go to bed, I'm like, oh my god, I need to end, you know, because in the evening I'm always like, I could play forever, you know. Once I'm in the flow, I could play until next morning, but you know, being a responsible human being, I know that I have to get up at some point to go to work, and I go to bed, but then I just force myself to stop, and sometimes I'm just doing that so radically that I completely forget to save the game, which then means that I have the autosave, which is most likely 15 minutes later and, you know, earlier, and so it's gone. And as you can see over here, exactly this happened. I lost the last 15 minutes because I forgot. And the good thing is, I wasn't even unhappy. I was kind of happy because I didn't feel it, you know. I remembered I checked my footage and I was like, I just don't feel it. Has to be done in a different way. And so I rebuilt this, and it took me less time than the first approach, but it also looked nicer, like a much nicer than the first approach. And I'm very, very happy with the terrace over here. If I'm a good person, I will actually do some before and after cuts right after we switch over into the next area. I wanted to do this, so if I think about this, I may actually do it, but yeah, we'll see that. Sometimes I forget to edit that in because of time reasons and time constraints. But yeah, these little things over here, guys, are so essential for the feeling of an area. And that isn't only true for Planet Zoo. It is also true. It's also true for potentially Planet Coaster. And talking about this because Planet Coaster 2 kind of has been confirmed. Well, I don't want to do a full video about this, but this epic leak is, in my opinion, it would be super weird if that is wrong, because why would Epic have something like this in the database if it's not true? It just doesn't make any sense. But anyways, back to this build over here. I wanted to make it feel very Sicilian in the way that I put a couple of plants in here, and also something I haven't done for such a long time, and I don't know why, but I thought it's fitting right in this area over here, and this is gonna be a tiny little aquarium in the middle where we will have some fishies. I will try to find some better footage. I, for the moment, have some old footage of mine that I used for the Koali tunnel, the underwater tunnel, which I'm still pretty proud of, but I thought, you know, I'm gonna do this again in here, and I just figured that the footage I had is not really fitting because it's too big. You'll see that in a second, but you know, at the end of the day, I'm just going to leave that in as the moment as a placeholder for the moment. It's going to be better once I have fitting footage. I wish to have some actual fish in the game though, and then to film it and put it in, but as we don't have it, we have to do it the way it is. I also have a weird bug at the moment, which is kind of odd, and I have to actually get back to Frontier. Whatever I do, whenever I do paint my picnic benches over here, they will always, if I load back into the file, they will always be back to the default green. It is so odd that I always, like, I make them brown or whatnot, and then when I'm back, they're all back again in green. It's so odd. You've maybe seen that in the last episode when I was doing the barnyard area. It just kind of turned out super awkward over here. But yeah, so next up is fixing some of the rock work over here and some of the areas that it didn't feel well. You can see this is again the pattern I've been talking about earlier. Just use all the blueprints you have and then scatter them across your zoo, because why would you do something again if you already have it? As you can see over here, I do exactly the same. Use this what I had on the entrance, and then I scatter some other stuff in. I delete some pieces to make it not look repetitive, and all of a sudden it's all done and dusted. But yeah, so that makes us talk about the entrance area, which we will do exactly now. So this is the piece that has existed for the longest, because this has basically been the very first building we've ever done in this wonderful project. And so, obviously, this has a specific and special place in my heart, but also in the story of this zoo. So I'm very happy that I'm finally able to finish this off, and I want to take the time to quickly talk about this, simply because when I was starting this project, I had a very specific idea in mind that this whole zoo is built on a higher elevated area, and then we will have a little serpentine road leading up to this entrance area, and it's a bit of a remote location, and so the entrance itself should feel like a very welcoming thing, you know. We have this little turnaround here and roundabout at the end of the road where, you know, the buses can do exactly this and just turn around and go to this little stop, and then people from the stop will roam in. So I think it's a good idea to have this this bus now as a spawner in here. I mean, we used to have the spawn of over 2 years now in this project, just randomly placed in this area. So it really feels like completion right now, being able to call this an entrance area as it is. And I've put a couple of things in here, though I must say, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk about with you guys, for those of you who want to become part of this project, I will put a couple of more things out at the end of the video, but for now already. So if you want to become a part, make sure to do some entrance related items. So what I'm missing in here are some signs, you know, some stop signs, so like bus stop signs, like little things, you know, that you have in an entrance area. Maybe a zoo map or something of that sort would be very awesome. So little kind of details that I would scatter across this area in an entrance part, and this is something I'm missing. But other than that, I'm already pretty pleased with how the entrance area turned out so far. You can see I'm using the wall design that I've already been using years ago. So just to fill that in, I wanted to kind of build these terrace layers out a little bit more to make sure that this all looks coherent and nice. And just like I had a struggle at the beginning to find out what's the right kind of a balance between plants and layers of dirt and stuff, because Sicily in a way isn't so lush as you would think it is. It's like, you know, being so far south, it has a very hot summer, and therefore also a lot of sandy areas with like not that lush of an environment, bit of grass, bit of dry grass as well. So making sure that this is resampled in here. And I finally found a good use for the gabion wall, just as already talked about before. This is one of the things that I want to do, utilizing some of these more easier tools like fence tools. Like I wish to have something like this in the game in the future. Maybe even Planet Coaster 2 can provide me with this. Like I love my piece by piece, don't get me wrong, piece by piece is one of the most important things in this game, but I would also love to see you know, maybe some cool fencing tools or so, because that would absolutely make my day and make building so much more productive. Anyways, skipping over to the next part, as said at the beginning, this is the wonderful parking lot we are working on. I've talked about this parking lot ever since I have done the first one, and I always said that this first one was only the placeholder for what it will become eventually. And here we are finally after I don't know how many episodes, but this is going to be the parking lot. And let me tell you, I'm so pleased with the result, because I can see myself really on one of these parking lots, like standing there and, you know, getting out of the car, being very excited, getting into a zoo. And we have this plateau over here, which I think works fairly fine. That is very cool how it turned out. And also I still like the design I did for the parking lot at the very beginning, so I'm going exactly with the same. We're going to put some more electric chargers on there as well, for making sure that we have also some EV parking. You know that I'm an owner and lover of my EV. I do have both, by the way, an EV and a normal good old-fashioned ICE car, but I love my EV, and so trying to fill in the Laura here and making sure that we have a modern zoo that offers specific areas for electric vehicles to charge while they're in the zoo. And technically, and maybe I'm going to do something like this, it would be really cool to have like some solar powered plants in the closed environment, so that this is also renewable energy that we are going to feed into these cars. So that would be lovely. But you can see now, putting a couple of lampposts in here and so on, it really gets this feeling. I also put down a couple of picnic tables, because sometimes, and if you got kids or you know this from your own family, sometimes before going into the zoo, or maybe even after the zoo, you just spend a couple minutes there, eat your own sandwiches, or just like relax for a bit before you're driving, making sure that the car is packed completely, and just, you know, having a little bit of a moment, because sometimes people travel quite far to a zoo. You know, there's quite a distance that they have to travel until they're there. And we had these backstage buildings in here also from the first episode ever, but I never finished this area off. I just really left it in the dark, so to say. I covered this a little bit with the land around, so people weren't able to see it that dramatically, but I just always felt that this is not really exactly nice looking. We do have a transformer over here. We just need that thing to create some energy in this region too. I mean, it's kind of funny though, because I always thought that these southern regions have a lot more renewable energy, that this is the case, but it's actually, frankly, it's not. And specifically, Spain, for example, is also pretty far behind when it comes to EVs and renewable energy, which always caught me by surprise. I know that they're catching up quickly because they have the resource, like the resource sun and sunshine hours, like is very, very available in these regions. So I was wondering why they didn't have that for longer. But so, yeah, to have something like this, we also need these type of transformers, because realistically, we need to have a stable source of energy that is not dependent on sun and wind only. So just makes sense, but this is only like a tiny one. If you want to be a very crazy person, creating a little energy outpost or like an energy supply station, that would be ridiculously great, you know. Also, by the way, if you want to hand these things in, make sure to come to my Discord and just drop me the link via, you know, tagging me in my Discord channel in the Planet Zoo thread. That you have created something, and just link me the blueprint. That would be amazing. But like, this would be something really cool, but it's not a must, you know. It's definitely a very nice detail, but it's definitely not a must. Yeah, you can see I'm also scattering a couple of little rocks here and there, making sure everything looks nice and coherent now. There are some little bits I forgot. I will actually go over this in a live stream. That's going to be the last thing I'm going to do. When everything is done, we will make one last live stream to put some Easter eggs in here, to put some very finishing details in. But I'm very confident that this will be very soon, to bring this project to an end, because I have decided what we are going to do with the new series. I'm not going to reveal this now, but it's going to be very cool, and it's going to incorporate a lot of the ideas you guys come up with. It's going to be pretty different to what many people suggested, but I have a feeling that the idea I have is going to be good. It's going to be the one that makes a perfect new zoo experience for us that we haven't had in the past so much, at least not in that sense. So yeah, very pleased. But yeah, you can see this area now looks so much more finished, having this little shade with the wooden logs, and just, yeah, putting some backstage stuff here and there, making sure that this all looks a lot more as if it's actually backstage and not just a beautiful facility area, because it is, you know, putting some thatch in, and then I found like these tires also as a great idea. They could be good items, you know, for some of the habitats, but they've maybe stored them in here. I tested a couple of things, but ended up putting some mulch in, as if there was some dirt in there. And yeah, so that's that. And then I started creating a little bit of a nicer environment here for the other backstage area leading up to our penguin area. And this is where we also need to do a little bit of backstage magic next episode. This is going to be this, and for those of you who are interested in the next episode, we are going to finish off, as I said, the backstage here for the penguins, but also we are going to make our way to the waterfall area. So we're going to build a beautiful, beautiful natural waterfall that is feeding into the sea, and then we will also create a lot more lush blueprints that we will use across the zoo to combine empty areas. And once this is done, we are pretty much ready for finishing off the zoo completely. And again, as mentioned before, if you want to become part of it, little details, as I mentioned before, are needed. So if you guys want to create some park maps, that would be amazing. If you guys want to do some custom education boards, that would be lovely. If you have custom bench cover designs, let me know. Like, these little things that you have next to the pathways are exactly what I'm looking for. And two specific things I'm looking for are, one, are sprinkler designs for our planters, because that's realistically something we would need, including the pipe work, and also some energy transformer stations. But that's that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. You have now an overview of the finished, not finished, but at least the result of today's work, and I can't wait to show you the next episode. If you're here to look at that, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'm very, very excited to see you in the next one when we are finally finishing off this project.